Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hanging Out for a Living, the show where we spotlight incredible entrepreneurs, creators, and thought leaders who are building meaningful businesses and helping others do the same. Today, I'm hanging out with Stephanie O'Brien, a coaching program design specialist, author, and editor who helps coaches turn their expertise into high-selling programs that create real testimonial results or testimonial worthy results, as I should say. And a total side note, if you all heard my dog barking, sorry about that. She tends to uh, bark and let me know the mail lady's here. So all good. But anyway, not to take away from you, Stephanie. Stephanie
I think
brings,
she's just keeping you safe.
I know, right? You should have heard her when the plow service came through. Good Lord. Um, so you think somebody was breaking into the house. But anyway, Stephanie brings such a refreshing and honest perspective to the coaching world because she's experienced both sides of it. She's seen the incredible transformations coaching can create, and she's also experienced the frustration that can come with, when programs feel like really overwhelming, or build just they're really deliver disappointing results, right? So through her work, Stephanie has created a system that helps coaches design powerful, results-driven programs, sometimes in as little as 60 to 90 minutes, helping them overcome procrastination. I can relate to that one, uncertainty, and self-doubt while building businesses they truly love waking up to. So, Stephanie, I'm so excited to hang out with you today. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm looking forward to this.
Wonderful. I want to respect your time. So let's dive right into our questions. You have
Okay.
such a unique perspective because you've experienced coaching programs that were transformational and others that kind of left you feeling discouraged. How did those experiences shape your passion for helping coaches design programs that really truly deliver results?
It really made me keenly aware of how even somebody who's got a lot of expertise, even someone who's got a lot of passion, doesn't always know how to convey it in a way that clients need. I've seen it referred to as the curse of expertise. You can be such an expert in your own stuff that you forget just how much information other people don't have. You tell people stuff like, notice what stories you're telling yourself, notice what limiting beliefs you have, but people don't know how to do that. Or so, one of the things I really focus on in helping my clients is making sure that they're not only telling people what to do, but telling people how to do it in so much detail that they can actually implement it, that they know exactly what to do in such a way that, even if they're totally new to the field, they could implement it. I've also just observed other, common mistakes like trying to cram too much information into one program to the point where it's cluttered, overwhelming, and sometimes even time-wastingly off topic just because you're trying to cram more value in because you don't feel valuable enough, or
Absolutely.
or not knowing how to draw out the client's problems because it's so easy for clients not to even know what problems they have or what challenges they have or what they need to talk about. So, having strategies for drawing out those things and finding out what needs to be fine-tuned that the client didn't even know needed to be fine-tuned. So, yeah, it's taught me a lot of little nuggets that you wouldn't necessarily think of if you hadn't been on the business end of these coaching programs that went right and went wrong.
Exactly. And I think you touched on, we don't see what we need to say or to convey because we're so in it. I mean, we're up to our knees in the weeds of it all. And I love how you were able to segment that off. Many coaches and service-based entrepreneurs, they really struggle with turning what they know, as we talked about, into a structured, sellable program, right? What do you see as the biggest mistake? And I said a couple of things here, but that people make when creating their coaching programs, and what is one shift they could make like today that would instantly improve their program design?
One thing I see sometimes people struggling with is I alluded to it earlier, not really having a clear, specific outcome that they're going for and focusing all the information, including all the information the client needs and only the information the client needs.
Sure.
Sometimes they have an idea like I want to teach clients this skill.
Okay.
That teaching them a skill isn't really the desirable selling point, though. Like one litmus test I like to share with my clients is if this thing I was talking about was the only thing they were going to get, would they actually want it? If let's say you're teaching them the skill of communication. If they
Okay.
only got better communication skills, but they did not get a better relationship with their boss and a raise, or they did not get better relationships with potential clients, more sales, they did not get better relationships with potential romantic partners and eventually meet their soulmate, would they still want it? No. But if they could meet their soulmate, get a raise, build a business without the better communication skills, without spending that time, they'd be all over that. So, so much stems from just having that one clear, specific outcome that you want to help people create, excluding any information that's not relevant to that, because that's just going to overwhelm people, waste their time, frustrate and confuse them. I was, as an author of fiction novels, I was in one coaching program where they promised me that it was going to teach me how to market my fiction novels, but a lot of the program focused on how to outsource the writing of and create and do marketing for nonfiction. So that's one of the more extreme examples, but it is an example of how people try and pack it all into one program when they really should have just had separate offers for separate people. But I didn't feel like I got more value. I felt ripped off. I felt like I should have paid a fraction of the price
Sounds
for a
like it.
fraction of the
Yeah,
information. So
absolutely.
yeah, and when you don't have that clear, specific outcome, you can spend so much time trying to just dump all the information you have into something without actually, really thinking, is this additional information actually legitimately valuable for the clients to get their results? Or is it just me feeling insecure and feeling like I need to dump more and more and more info in just to be good enough?
Yeah, it's wonderful that you've been on both sides of the fence and that you're able to see it from both sides and be able to help your clients navigate that. And you talk a lot about helping coaches move past procrastination, fear, and self-doubt when creating their programs, which is really something so many entrepreneurs struggle with, right? What are some of the mindset shifts, a couple of or strategies you use to help clients move from stuck and overwhelmed to confident and ready to launch?
I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear my cat screaming in the background. She was laying there perfectly happy for like an hour and a half. The moment we got onto this interview, she went to the door and started to scream. Mind if I just take like a couple seconds to get
No,
her
go
out of
ahead.
this
No,
room?
you're fine.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, come on back when you're ready. Yep, go ahead. Well, folks, while Stephanie
You,
is taking
nobody
care
ever
of
told
Kitty
her about the
Cat,
call to start thinking.
welcome to recording of an episode of Hanging Out for a Living. This sort of stuff happens all the time. I don't edit anything at all. And as you'll see, and Stephanie is back with us, but this is how I keep our conversations real and organic and authentic. And it happens. I had my dog barking. Stephanie had her kitty cat meowing. Life happens. So thanks for that, for understanding and being here with us again. And Stephanie, go ahead. I'm sorry we didn't get you to talk. So there you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I thought about locking her out of the room, but then she'd be reaching on the door and screaming to come in.
Yes. No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. You're absolutely fine.
So yeah, we were talking about the mindset shifts that people
Correct.
can use if they're kind of procrastinating, if they're doubting themselves. I want to share a few mindset shifts that I've found
Sure.
and an exercise that I found really helpful. One of the mindset shifts is to remember that you don't have to be the biggest expert in the world to change lives. You don't even have to be the biggest expert in a room full of experts to change lives. What you need to be is someone who knows how to get a result. You need to be the person in the room who knows more than the average person. Because if you know more than the average person about how to achieve a result, then you can help the average person to achieve that result. And I find it's going to be an especially helpful reminder for new coaches that if you're, really, if you're new to it, you don't have that track record as much as an older or as a more experienced coach, you might doubt yourself. But I've actually found sometimes being newer can almost be a superpower
Mhm.
because as I was alluding to before, people who are so deep in their expertise, they forget what other people don't know. They forget what it's like to be in their client's shoes.
Sure.
So they, talk about stuff. They tell people to do things that other people don't know how to do, expecting them to know how to do it. Whereas somebody who's more recently been in the other person's shoes might have a better remembrance of, okay, I didn't know what a limiting belief was, or how to identify what's a limiting belief versus what's a fact. Here's what I needed to do in order to detect that. Here's what I need to convey. I'm not saying that more experienced coaches can't do that, but it's just easier to forget what people don't know when you've been immersed in it for a really long time.
Makes sense. Totally.
Yeah, and I'd like to, if you don't mind,
No,
include an
please.
exercise that people. So here's an exercise that I found really boosted my confidence when I was new to this. So those of you who are listening, I want you to grab something to write with, a pen or paper, or just something, a text processor like WordPad. So step one of this process is to write down a list of the different topics you know enough about to help people get results in them. Maybe you know how to smooth things over with your kids when they're fighting, or to separate cats when they're fighting. Maybe you know how to create nutritious meals really quickly and easily, even if you're on a budget. Whatever positive outcome you know how to create, or skill set you know that other people might not have, put that on the list. And then once you've got those listed out, step two is to pick one of them, maybe the one that you're most passionate about, the one you know the most about, and break that down into steps. One example I like to use is, let's say somebody's a relationship coach and they're helping single men to meet and marry the women of their dreams. Well, what steps would go into that? Figuring out what kind of woman you want to marry, where to find these women,
Yeah.
um, how to approach these women once you found them in a way that welcome and makes them want to talk to you instead of, oh, who's this guy approaching me in the
I know.
bar? Ew. So the example, so kind of go through the steps. If you can do it in chronological order, that's great because it helps you to get a clearer idea of what you're doing
Sure.
when. But for some people, it's more like here are different areas of your life that you need to have in place in order to be fully emotionally healthy, and those don't always happen in chronological order. So if you have to do it more buffet style, do that. If not, if you can do it in chronological order, that's ideal. So once you've written down the steps in chronological order, just pick one of those steps and really break it down into the exact things the client needs to do. Like, let's say with this example of a fictional single man, he's trying to figure out what kind of woman he wants to meet. So, give him specific questions he can ask, like, what kind of experiences do I want to have in my life? And what kind of partner would want to have these experiences with me? What experiences do I not want to have? Do I want to have kids? Do I not want to have kids? Do I want someone to take care of the household or someone to bring in a separate income? How much of the housework am I willing to do? All
Yeah.
these little things that help them to figure out, what do I actually want as opposed to what a society told me I should want.
Right.
So, and if any of those aren't completely self-explanatory in and of themselves, break them down further. If you're explaining this to a 5-year-old, the 5-year-old should be able to understand. I'm not saying to be condescending, but I am saying to be thorough. So
Right.
once you've done this exercise, I think you'll be surprised to realize just how many topics you know about and how much depth and detail you know about every single one of those topics.
This is absolutely brilliant. I'm so grateful that you
Thank
shared it with
you.
our audience. Thank you. Um,
You're welcome.
yeah, so folks, if you didn't have a chance to grab a paper and pen or whatever way you take notes, you'll want to go back and re-listen to this. And so let's move on to our final question. So, Stephanie, if someone listening today knows they have expertise, now you kind of went through this a little bit that could truly help people, but hasn't yet created a coaching program, or maybe has one that really isn't performing the way they hoped that it would. What encouragement or advice would you give them?
Um, So yeah, if you're working on a coaching program, I definitely recommend that you go through the exercise I just did because that's a really powerful way to come up
Yeah.
with a lot of content really fast and to go really deep into that content. If you've got one that isn't performing very well, I'd evaluate it and look, okay, are there parts of it like it depends on what you mean by not performing. Like if it's not selling, then it's time to re-examine. Am I really speaking to the outcome that people want and an outcome that they really think about that's urgent for them?
Sure.
Or am I talking about the skill set that they need in order to get that? Back to that litmus test I listed earlier.
Yeah.
If what you're offering was the only thing they'd get, would they buy it? If you're selling it, but it isn't really getting results, I try to take an objective look at what kind of results are you getting? Okay, are people like not implementing? Is that why you're not getting results? Or are they confused by a lack of detail and they're trying to implement it but not knowing how? Do they just not have time to implement it? And you maybe need to break it down into more bite-sized chunks or look at their schedule with them to see where they can fit implementation in. So yeah, I'd check in with any clients you currently have and get an idea of what exactly is stopping them from getting results from this. And you might need to fine tune the program you have, or you might need to break your program into several different programs. If say, let's say you've got a program for people who have a lot of disposable income and time to implement your instructions, you should only sell that to people who have that disposable income and time. Whereas you might need to you make an introductory program for people who don't have that income and time to kind of help them to free up their time and to make more money so they can afford to implement your bigger program.
Makes total sense. Absolutely. I've got to tell you, Stephanie, this has been such a great and insightful conversation, and you shared
Thank you.
so much. I absolutely love the work you're doing to help coaches create the programs that not only grow their businesses, right, but also create meaningful transformation in the lives of their clients. So, folks, if you're watching or listening and something Stephanie shared resonated with you, I highly recommend you continue the conversation with her. So Stephanie's contact information is included in the description of this video. And, but wait, there's more. She also generously is offering a free guidebook titled How to Pick a Coaching Topic That Sells. It's designed to help you choose a coaching topic people are ready, eager to invest in while learning how to start conversations that lead to sales without that icky salesy feeling, right? So be sure to grab a copy of that. I'll include that in the description as well. There'll be a link to that. And as always, if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Hanging Out for a Living so we can continue highlighting incredible people like Stephanie who are making a difference through the work they do. Stephanie, thanks again so much for hanging out with me today. And bye,
Oh, you're
everybody. Until
welcome.
next time. Yep, loved having you. Bye, everybody.